You know, I've spent over 30 years putting together names, dates, places, connection, information, all of which needed doing, but my passion is understanding who we are and where we are. It's extraordinary, I mean, it's almost funny when you consider what reality is compared with the way we experience it. This world is solid, right? Well, it turns out it's not. Everything that we experience is apparent solidity and everything apart from everything else, and yet reality is nothing like that. It's just the way we experience it. Why is this important? Well, it's important because if we don't understand the nature of the reality that we're experiencing, how can we understand anything? Look at the system. You've got politicians making laws based on the world being solid and reality being the way we experience it when it's not. You've got doctors in the medical profession trying to treat people's illness, dis-ease, disharmony. And you've got scientists and academia giving you a version of the world. Everything is solid and apart from everything else. So, is it any surprise that the world is a mess? It always amazes me when I see all the subjects that are discussed by humanity all the time, and all these other things that take our attention. How rarely you hear questions about who are we? Where are we? What is this place? I mean, don't we want to know? Why isn't it on the television, in the schools and the universities? Why isn't it the center of our attention? But no, so many never talk about it because one of the reasons is it's so complex and it's so complicated that we have to leave it to the scientists and the academics. Well, actually, when you break down what reality really is, you realize that mainstream science and mainstream academia hasn't got a frickin' clue what reality is. Not a clue. Key number one. We can only see a ludicrously narrow band of frequency which science calls visible light. That's it. Anything beyond visible light, which is basically the entirety of infinity, we cannot see. Then you look at how narrow this visible light is. And according to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum is 0.005% of what exists in the universe. But visible light, which is the only frequency band that we can see, is a smear of the 0.005%. In terms of seeing the infinity of existence, humanity is basically blind. We sit in this narrow band of frequency, ridiculously narrow, And we're making these big statements about how things are. Religions tell us that within this tiny band of frequency, all we need to know is within the covers of a single book. Crazy. So, a bit of humility might be appropriate here. And as Socrates said in ancient Greece, wisdom is knowing how little we know. If you operate on that philosophy, then your mind is always open. There's always more to know. Key number 2. The paranormal. It's para, it's not normal. Actually, the paranormal is perfectly normal because the paranormal is describing things that can happen and do happen and can be explained how they happen when you understand reality is not how we experience it. The body decoding systems are decoding what we call form, basically objects, and between them appears to be empty space. That's how the 5 senses decode the world. Everything is apart from everything else, nothing's connected. But when you go deeper into the energetic field that connects everything, you realize that the empty space is not empty. Everything that appears to be in and of itself in isolation, whether it's people or animals or trees, plants, anything, they're all connected through this field of consciousness, energy, possibility, potential. How many people have experienced this? You're thinking of someone and the phone rings and you pick up the phone and it's the person you've been thinking about. And you go, what's the chances of that? Excuse me. Hello?
Hey Dad, how you doing?
Bloody hell, I was just thinking of you.
I was wondering if you're up for some babysitting.
All right, mate, I'll call you back. I did tell you not to ring me at work tonight. Okay, bye.
That went well.
I'm saying that the mind is in the brain, but it extends beyond it through fields.
All the particles and forces, the entire universe is understood today as various vibrational modes, vibrational states of a universal field of existence.
This belief that we are all part of one thing is perfectly encapsulated by the Zulu word Simunye, which means we are one. And this Simunye hypothesis is one that is as old as philosophy.
If we think about somebody, we want to call them on the telephone, and then we call them. Quite often, people feel our intention before we make the call. They start thinking about us, and when we make the call, they say, "That's funny, I was just thinking about you."
Where we are complaining about the fact that things are not working, where we say we don't understand this world. Well, if you're not willing to tap into all the information that helps you to understand this world, how can you get proper answers? You can't.
Every thought, every emotion that we project is a frequency. It can be a high frequency, love, joy. It can be a low frequency, dense frequency, depression, despair. But they're all frequencies. And they're passing through this field of information, this field of consciousness. And if you're sensitive enough, this is the point, you can pick up these things. This is what we call psychic ability. This is what we call intuition. And so when someone is thinking of calling you, their thoughts, those frequencies they're projecting, relate to you and your frequency field. So if you are sensitive, you pick that up and you think of the person. And then the phone rings and it's, oh my God, what's the chances of that? So if you look at another kind of society, like the ancient societies of Africa, what you find is that these things, like being able to pick up frequencies passing through the field, are commonplace. This is where the whole concept of the Bush Telegraph comes from. People go out from the tribe, maybe go hunting, but they know what's going on back in the village. They know if there's a problem because they're picking up frequencies being generated by people in the village relating to what's happening, and they're picking them up through the field. This is how we should be. It's our natural state. Not picking up these things is our unnatural state. The world is so magical if only we would open our minds.
Turns out there may be some scientific proof now to show that animals might just have the answer to early earthquake detection.
Our animal friends possess extraordinary abilities to perceive natural events.
The elephants that sense an earthquake, then stampede. The birds abandoning nests before a tsunami.
In this surveillance video, Sophie the dog takes off before a 6.0 magnitude quake hit Eureka, California last year.
Well, can animals predict earthquakes? That's a question that some scientists in Japan have been trying to answer.
There's no question that animals have a sixth sense that most humans don't.
In 2004, when a tsunami hit Southeast Asia and killed more than 200,000 people, but almost no wild animals.
In certain cases, animals can detect natural disasters days and even weeks before they happen.
See, the thing about animals, you see, is they don't go to school, and they don't read the newspapers, and they don't go on social media. And so they don't become desensitized from these other senses that I'm talking about. People have noted that the behavior of animals makes it clear that they knew that some storm was coming or some earthquake was coming. How did they know that? But by their behavior, clearly they knew something was going on. Well, it's very simple. It's all simple. When something is happening, like a storm is brewing, that creates a disturbance in the field. Before it manifests as a physical reality, oh, there's a tornado coming, oh! Animals are sensitive. They know it's coming. And they behave in ways that show people they know what is happening. You know, people say they talk to plants. How can a plant understand your language? Well, it actually can't. But what it can pick up is vibration. So I'm talking now, and words are not passing between you and me. Frequency fields of information are passing between you and me, which relates to the nature of what I'm saying. Now, what happens with humans is the ear senses pick up those frequencies and the brain decodes that into what we call words. But a plant, a tree, an animal will pick up the frequency.
We've been given this amazing gift of consciousness. And because of this gift, we have the ability to deeply understand our connectedness.
Could, as many researchers believe, vines and other plants be sentient beings capable of displaying conscious choice?
When we're in a leafy environment, our stress levels go down, our levels of cooperation go up.
Using science, I've shown that precisely these unseen connections exist.
Talking plants have become a reality. Researchers in South Korea have developed a way to convert signals from plant roots into voice signals.
I believe that a positive attitude and love has an effect on the growth of plants.
Through the field and frequency, not only are we all one, we can communicate beyond the spoken language. And this is key information that those behind the manipulation of human society don't want you to know. The more you know about reality and how we interact with it, then it will set us free. And we're in the period now where we're going to be set free because of this knowledge that's now re-emerging after a vastness of suppression. To understand the field is to understand life itself.